came out at today's meetings?
Well, in fact, they're just about to sit and debate the main issues that are on the table over in the European Parliament. Now, they've, at the last minute, put two urgent matters on their negotiations. This assembly, which is seen as one of the most important ways for European and African and Caribbean Pacific lawmakers and members of parliament to get together to discuss their issues. Now, the two issues were Burundi and the migration and refugee crisis. Mainly, the real concern in this assembly is Burundi. There's some real clear signs from especially obviously the African parliamentarians that they feel that there needs to be a lot of political support, especially from the European Union, to try to help prevent Burundi slipping into a crisis, which many people have predicted it could do if some political stability is not reasserted into Burundi.
But what about the issues of migration?
Well, the European Union and Africa held a summit in Valletta back in mid-November to discuss how the African issue of migration into the European Union has been affecting the EU. Now, clearly, a lot of the people coming in these flows of migrants and refugees are Syrians as part of the Syrian conflict. But there are concerns in the European Union that many from sub-Saharan Africa are fleeing for economic reasons. And in the European Union at the moment, an economic migrant is kind of a buzzword for somebody that probably won't be accepted if they apply for asylum. But they're also trying to look into who are people fleeing from violence and who are in need of refugee and asylum in the European Union. So that was something discussed in Valletta, and that's something that the parliamentarians here in Brussels are discussing today. They may come to a resolution, some kind of forward planning for where the Parliament bloc sits in this matter, and whether they feel that the European Union should do more to provide for African refugees as well as Syrians.
You know, Jack, as you mentioned very succinctly, that the issue of who is crossing onto the borders of countries where they are fleeing due to economic reasons, but then the problem has been terrorism. Do we know if anyone has raised concerns about the immigrants who are moving and some of them masquerading as desperate, whereas they are actually the terrorists who are continuing to come in with dangerous weapons and bombs so that they can be able to carry out their terrorist missions?
Well, this is one of the major concerns indeed, and especially among the general public in the European Union. There are lots of fears that especially the refugees and migrants that are coming from countries like Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, where there are a lot of radicalized people who are backing terrorist groups or even members of them, may come into the European Union as part of the flows of refugees and migrants that are coming here. Now, we've seen a number of incidents, obviously the Paris attacks, but they were generally coordinated from actually European citizens that had been radicalized on trips to Syria. And also, we've just seen over the weekend the slashing of a throat of a British citizen by somebody shouting, "This is for Syria," suspected to be in response to Britain's decision to bomb Islamic State targets in Syria. So there's a lot of concerns about that at the moment. But a lot of the people that are actually on the ground facing this crisis say that most of the terrorism that has happened, or the suspected terrorism that's happened on European soil, has actually been conducted by European citizens at the moment. So people should not be so afraid of the refugee and migrant crisis and the people that are coming in with that. But clearly, what they say and what people feel on the streets is two different things often.
All right, Jack, thank you very much for the update. I'm speaking there live from Brussels to Jack Parrock, who's giving us the latest on the Africa, Caribbean, Pacific EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly, which is about to sit. And of course, as soon as the details come out, we'll keep following on that story to give you the latest.